Dearest Internet, I'm Anne Richmond, aka Hearthsinger, the head bard in charge around these parts, and I failed you. I've disappointed you, and I frankly have to apologize because in my last video, I did something just incredibly insensitive. Babu, no, this is my responsibility, and I have to take care of it. It's not your fight. I forgot to talk about Gothic Lineages that you can find in the new Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I left those out because they're really awesome, so we're going to talk about them this week, okay? Gothic Lineages were released as playtest material in the Unearthed Arcana earlier this year, but we are going to see their final forms realized in this new book. You will now have the option to play as a Dhampir, a sort of half-vampire poised between life and death, a Hexblood, or a cursed child of magical origin, or a Reborn, a person who died and yet now lives again due to mysterious circumstance. Now, before you select any of those Gothic lineages, there are a few rules that apply to all of them that I want to talk through. Each one of these lineages replaces racial selection at character creation. They reflect having once been a member of a different race or even simply being mistaken for one in the past. But through this new lineage, you have become something else. With that in mind, you now possess only your lineage's racial traits and bonuses. These choices do not stack with any previous choices if you are becoming this new lineage during the course of a campaign. In fact, when you determine your ability scores, you're going to be able to choose to increase one of those by 2 and another one, a different one, by 1. This increase can't raise a score above 20. This is a stand-in for the ability score bonuses a traditional D&D race would afford you. Now, if you're using these new Gothic lineages to replace your level 1 race with a new development in your storyline, these bonuses replace the old ability score increases you took at level 1. And just like if you had chosen this option at level 1, they can't increase or raise a score past 20. Your character can speak, read, and write one other language that you and your DM think is appropriate for your character. If you are replacing your race with a new lineage, you actually just retain the languages you had before, and you don't gain any new languages. Now, as a special note, because I think it warrants some discussion, some of this might sound a little bit familiar if you have read Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Following in that book's footsteps, the race options in future D&D releases will lack the ability score increase trait, the language trait, the alignment trait, and any other trait that is purely cultural. Racial traits henceforth will reflect only physical or magical realities of being a player character who's a member of a particular lineage. Things like Drow having developed dark vision from living underground for so long, or Dragonborn who have a breath weapon because of their draconic origin. And anything that is learned, like tool proficiencies, languages, or alignment suggestions, that's now something that a player can choose as they build their character based on their character's unique set of life experiences. Now that we've covered the lineage aspects that apply to everyone, let's dive into each of our new choices. First up, the Dhampir, that's D-H-A-M-P-I-R. Poised between the worlds of the living and the dead, Dhampir retain their grip on life, yet are endlessly tested by vicious, all-consuming hungers. Their ties to the undead grant Dhampirs a taste of what a vampire's deathless prowess might afford, in the form of increased speed, dark vision, and a life-draining bite. With unique insights into the nature of the undead, many Dhampirs turn to lives of adventure and monster hunting. Their reasons for doing this are often deeply personal. Some seek danger, imagining monsters as the personification of this unabating, insidious hunger within, while others might simply pursue revenge against whatever turned them into the Dhampir in the first place. And still others embrace the solitude of the hunt, striving to keep distance between themselves and those who would tempt their hunger. Every Dhampir has a thirst that they try desperately to resist, lest they succumb to this inner beast. It's all very Vampire the Masquerade, frankly, and I am living for it. While that thirst might be for blood, I want to draw your attention to the fact that the book provides some other really cool suggestions for dark thirsts. Options like flesh or raw meat, cerebral spinal fluid, draining the color from someone's appearance, or even dreams themselves. You could also choose something else of your own imagining. Think about maybe a Dhampir bard who thirsts for other people's memories, and guilty at having robbed them of these precious moments, they strive to immortalize these stories in strange requiems, singing them at lonely campfires and passing them off as their own. Yeah, I want to do that. I want to do that right now, and you can't stop me because you'll never get here in time. Dhampirs often arise from encounters with vampires. I mean, that's classic, right? But all manner of macabre bargains and necromantic influences and encounters with mysterious immortals might have transformed your character in this way. The Dhampir Origins table provides suggestions for how your character might have attained their lineage. You are the reincarnation of an ancestor who was once a vampiric tyrant. Or maybe you're a warlock whose pact with a predatory deity, fiend, fae, or spirit causes you to share in their thirst. Or a monstrous attack left some sort of parasite in your body, leaving you somewhere between life and death, and that pushes on your hunger to sate itself. Or perhaps you loved an immortal and were willing to do anything to be with them and remain at their side, including being transformed into a vampire. But tragedy interrupted your transformation, leaving you caught in a web of thirst. I mean, you were thirsty to begin with because you were thirsty for an immortal. You know what? It's fine. All of these are great. As a Dhampir, your traits become humanoid and undead. You can either be a medium or small creature, depending on your original character's size. I'm kind of guessing it's based on whatever race you once were before this change took effect. And very excitingly, you get a speed increase from the norm, moving at a base speed of 35 feet. So fast, so furious. You gain dark vision, you gain spider climb, and vampiric bite. Your fanged bite is a natural weapon, which counts as a simple proficient melee attack. So you would add your constitution modifier to the attack that you make and the damage rolls when your attack succeeds. When your bite hits, it does 1d4 piercing damage. Plus, while you are missing half or more of your hit points, you have advantage on attack rolls you make with this bite. And when you use your bite and hit a creature that isn't a construct or undead, you can empower yourself in one of the following ways. You can either gain hit points equal to the damage you dealt with your bite, or you can gain a bonus to the next ability check or attack roll you make equal to the damage dealt by your bite. Yes, a dark blessing. You can do that bite a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. And then there's the Hexblood. Where wishing fails, ancient magic can sometimes offer your heart's desire, at least for a time. Hexbloods are individuals infused with eldritch magic, fey energy, or mysterious witchcraft. Some who enter into bargains with hags gain their deepest wishes, but eventually find themselves transformed, with ears that split into forked points, skin in wild shades, lengthy hair that always regrows when cut, or even an irremovable living crown. It might also be that perhaps they themselves are the result of a dark pact made before their birth. Hexbloods manifest hag-like traits, such as long life, dark vision, and a variety of magical methods to beguile the senses and avoid having the same done to them. Many Hexbloods turn to a life of adventure, seeking to discover the mysteries of their magic, or to forge a connection with their fey nature, or even to avoid a hag that obsesses over them. It is in fact through the creation of hexbloods that hags can reproduce. Every hexblood exhibits features suggestive of the hag whose magic inspires their powers. This includes an unusual crown, often called an elder cross or a witch's turn. This living garland-like part of a hexblood's body extends from temple to temple and wraps behind their head, serving as a visible mark of the bargain between a hag and a hexblood, a debt owed, or a change yet to come. Hexbloods may eventually consent to a ritual of becoming with the hag who created them, and once undertaken, this change is irreversible. Choosing your hexblood origin is part of character creation. So perhaps seeking a child, your parent made a bargain with a hag, and you are the result of that arrangement. Or perhaps you were cursed as a child, and a deal with the spirits of the forest transformed you into a hexblood, free of the curse. And yet, what fine print have you yet to discover of this new arrangement? Or maybe you began life as a fey creature, but an accident or a crime changed you and forced you from your home. There are tons of great suggestions in the book to choose from, and of course, you can always make your own. As a hexblood, you are considered both human and fey. You can be a medium or small-sized creature, and you have a base speed of 30 feet. You receive dark vision, and your fey resilience gives you an advantage on saving throws versus charm effects. With hex magic, you can cast the Disguise Self or hex spells. Intelligence, wisdom, or charisma is your spellcasting ability associated with those spells, and you can choose that when you gain this lineage, which is a nice sort of addition because it means you can synergize it with whatever way you're already building your character in a particular class. When you use this trait to cast either one of those spells, you can do it once per long rest without using spell slots, but if you want to cast them again, you can use any spell slots you have. And this is my favorite. You also gain the magic token ability. So as an action, you harmlessly pull out one of your nails or a tooth or a lock of your hair, and this token becomes imbued with magic until you finish a long rest. Now, while this token is imbued in this way, you can take an action to send a telepathic message to the creature who is holding or carrying this token as long as you are on the same plane of existence and within 10 miles of it. In addition, while you're within 10 miles of the token, you can use an action to enter a trance for 1 minute, during which you can see and hear from the token as if you were located where it is. While you are using your senses at the token's location, it's sort of like having a familiar. You are blinded, you're deafened in regard to your own surroundings. Afterward, the token is harmlessly destroyed. You can create a token of this kind once every long rest, at which point your missing part regrows. And lastly, let's not forget the Reborn lineage. Death isn't always the end. The Reborn are individuals who have died, yet still somehow live. Some Reborn exhibit the scars of fatal fates, their ashen flesh, missing limbs, or bloodless veins, making it clear that they have been touched in some way by death. Other Reborn are marvels of magic or science, having been stitched together from disparate beings or bearing mysterious minds in manufactured bodies. Reborn suffer from faded memories, some manner of discontinuity from their early interruption of their past lives. Their minds are ill-equipped to deal with it, and memories of events before this interruption are often dissonant or just simply missing. Occasionally, the most unexpected experience might cause sensations or visions of the past to come rushing back. Rather than sleeping, Reborn regularly sit and dwell on the past, hoping that some revelation of what came before will return to them. And most of the time, these are dark, silent stretches of empty time. Occasionally, though, in a moment of peace, stress, or excitement, a Reborn gains a glimpse of what came before. The book totally provides a Lost Memories table where you can roll and guide these meditations with random inspiration, but this is also such an amazing opportunity for me as a DM to work with the player and find a way to draw them even further into the story with new surprises, as long as they trust me to do that. Now, how this break with your previous life occurred is sort of up to you. Something might have gone wrong during your resurrection, or perhaps you're stitched together of many parts, all with faded memories from multiple lifetimes. You may have woken in desperation and clawed yourself free from your grave, only reaching the top to realize you have no memories. It's all just a blank, except for maybe the whisper of a single name. Or perhaps you awoke in an abandoned laboratory alongside complex designs for clockwork organs. Reborn gain the humanoid trait, as well as construct or undead, chosen when you gain the lineage. You can choose to be medium or small, you have a base speed of 30 feet, and you gain dark vision. You also gain deathless nature. Having escaped death, you gain the following benefits. You have advantage on saving throws against disease and being poisoned, and you have resistance to poison damage. You have advantage on death saving throws. You don't need to eat, drink, or breathe. You don't need to sleep, and magic can't put you to sleep. A reborn can finish a long rest in just 4 hours if they spend those hours in an inactive, motionless state during which they retain consciousness. You also gain knowledge from a past life, wherein you temporarily remember sporadic glimpses of the past, and when you make an ability check that uses a skill, you can roll a d6 and add the number rolled to your check. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. It's kind of like Reborn self-inspiration, which I like. I like it a lot. And that is it. That's the Dhampir, the Hexblood, and the Reborn. I find these lineages totally fascinating because they are living story hooks with mechanical features, and that's honestly just how I like it. They make it so easy to dive into roleplay at the table. Let me know in the comments if these lineages have got your gears ticking and you have some cool ideas for a character concept, because I definitely want to hear about it. And hey, if you want to get more weekly tabletop RPG content, well, go ahead and like this video, hit subscribe, and click that bell icon so you get a notification every time I upload a new video. If you want to bring one of those Gothic lineages to the table, and it seems like you might want to do that with me, well, consider joining Patreon. I'm a professional DM, and I run games exclusively for my patrons every single month, as well as putting out unique magical items created by yours truly, putting out weekly podcasts, and creating other awesome community events. I'm also on Twitch on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays with more TTRPG content. It tends to be in a longer format, in a more relaxed setting. Every once in a while, I do actual plays as well. And I just started this awesome new show on Thursday nights called Investigation Check. It's basically a book club where I read a book aloud and we discuss it. If you want to stay up to date with my adventures and join my adventuring party, by all means, head to these socials. They'll have you well in hand. In the meantime, get out there and live your quest life. And I'll see you next week right here on Hearthsinger Games. Bye! Raise your tokens high. Hexblood's Dhampir thirsts defy. Reborns rise from graves and grasp at their lost lives. I wish I could tell you that this is the only one of these I came up with. It's not. Reborn are splitting the ground, my dear. My, that is odd. Whose is that bod? Stay underground. There's Dhampir hunters approaching a lair. Oh, do they bite be where the night watch their approach? There's Hexbloods becoming hags, my pet, and terrors that we won't ever forget. I'm rewriting Sondheim. That's where we've gotten to. It's a devil's errand.